I even remember the first night we were driving to the countryside with another activist. He asked me if I would have something with a man that is in a relationship. I said no very clearly and explained my reasons. Then he proceeded to explain how he and his girlfriend are in an open relationship and tried to convince me how great it is to be with multiple people. Back to the third night when he asked if he could kiss me, I said no, but he kept asking to kiss me and kept on pushing. I was nervous, uncomfortable, and trying to find a reason to escape from the situation. Okay, I want to point something out here. Women aren't on-off switches. They don't just instantly get turned on, and especially young women. I think this woman's 18 years old. 18 years old. They play hard to get, and she's trying to make it seem as if his behavior, being pushy, where he keeps asking for a kiss even though she says no. Oh, that's abusive, exploitative behavior. No, it's just part of the game. A lot of women play hard to get, they like being chased, and they do this type of stuff where they're like, oh no, I don't really want to kiss you, no, I'm not interested, and it's just part of the game.
Some women, sometimes, Richard. Not all women, not all the time. And for you as a man in that situation, with your biased perspective, do you think you are going to pick up on that distinction? Do you think it's responsible advice to give men that if they're in this sort of situation, they should disregard the woman giving negative signals, and that the man should just be more assertive, that the man should work with the assumption that she's just quote unquote playing hard to get? Do you think the man should behave as if it is quote unquote just part of the game? I think that's really terrible advice, Richard. Now, you said most women play hard to get and play this kind of game. In the 21st century, I don't even think it's 10% of women who follow this pattern of behavior anymore. Maybe, in the 1950s or 1960s, the idea of a coy refusal, it used to be a more common cultural trope in the Western world, I guess. But whether it's 10% of women who behave this way 10% of the time, or 60% of women who behave this way 60% of the time, you've got to use sympathy as an analytical tool here, Richard. You've got to think about it from the woman's perspective. Now, in this case, the woman was 18 years old. It makes it worse. But this sort of situation, it only differs by degree. It doesn't differ in kind when you're talking about an 18-year-old woman as opposed to a 30-year-old woman, because really you can't have all the same issues and conflicts in romancing a 30-year-old woman as an 18-year-old woman. But yeah, it's worse. It's worse. It's several degrees worse because she was 18. Richard, can you imagine yourself at age 18 trying to refuse the advances of an older married woman? In this case, it's an older guy who's in an open relationship, who's hitting on you, who's pressing you for sex, and this woman chooses to interpret your refusal as you just playing hard to get. This woman chooses to interpret your refusal as coy, and then she's more assertive, believing that it's quote unquote just part of the game. Now, I can't make the claim that absolutely 0% of women follow this pattern of behavior that he's presenting here as a justification for this kind of male behavior of being more assertive and disregarding refusal. And I can't say 0% of men. But the best advice you can give people is to live your life as if it's 0% of people who are coy in this way, as if 0% of people say no but mean yes, as if 0% of people are just insincerely playing hard to get. You should live your life according to that better and higher moral standard for a variety of reasons, not just to relieve the stress and strain on the people you may be flirting with or hitting on. That's the part that's the easiest to sympathize with. Like, you just think, okay, what if I were in the reverse situation? What if I were the 18-year-old and this older guy is flirting with me or something? The ultimate game is no game. The ultimate game is when you can sit down with people and play it completely straight and open and honest. And it's just, hey, maybe you're attracted to me and maybe I'm attracted to you. And maybe we're going to do something about it and maybe not. And where there is no game. There's no deception and there's no expectation that the other person is deceiving you. And when you really play it honestly that way, when you play it in an honest, open way with no games, then right away you get a sense of how sincerely attracted or not attracted the other person is to you, how interested they are in you, and in what way they're interested in you. Like, are they interested in a relationship, or are they just interested in a one-night stand, or what's going on their end? Once I was taking the bus with my girlfriend. This was in Victoria, in Canada. And a guy came and sat next to a girl right next to us. It's not worth describing the whole scenario, but there are 4 seats that are facing each other, so we all really saw and heard what one another was saying. And this guy sits down with the girl, and he's attempting to hit on her or flirt with her. And they're 2 university students, and they obviously have at least one class together where they know the same professor. They're dealing with some of the same stuff in the classes. So the guy comes, and he tries to hit on her, and it goes very poorly. And then they both kind of get up and leave the bus. And I said to my girlfriend, Melissa, wow, that's not the way I would have handled that at all, in terms of hitting on a girl. I mean, she witnessed this too. And she said, oh, wow, how would you have done it? How would you sit down and, kind of present this opportunity to woman? So I acted out with Melissa. I said, oh, yeah, this is how I do it. This is what I'd say. And I spoke to her exactly the way I would speak to, hypothetically, somebody in that situation. And Melissa immediately got extremely turned on and flustered. She was, laughing, and she put her hand on my hand and said, "Stop it! You're really getting to me, on this bus." But I said to her, I said, "Yeah, but that's how you respond, because you're attracted to me. Like, you have chemistry with me. You're drawn to me. That's what that's showing. I'm not tricking you into this. I'm not talking you into this. That's how you respond. And someone else wouldn't respond that way, or someone else would respond with 50% as much warmth, and someone else would respond in a manner that's tepid, and another person would respond actually being, standoffish." So, given the way I've told the story up to this point, you might think I said something really charming or really flirtatious or really forward to Melissa and act that out. And no, here's what I said to her. I said, okay, sit down and say, "Hey, I saw you in class. That was good. Presentation was good." I know it's like there's nothing here, right? And, Melissa was responding to this. That's it. You sit down, make eye contact, because the reality is, like, all you're doing is like a litmus test. You're really just showing the person, hey, I'm interested in you. I like you. I want to talk to you. I want to spend time with you. And then how they respond to that is up to them. The ultimate game is no game. And when you play that way, in a way that's honest and open and warm, and also just constructive, like, hey, I'm not going to presume what kind of relationship we can have. A lot of time I talk to people, and it's like, well, look, maybe you can be a friend of mine. Maybe we can be like intellectual colleagues. Maybe we can be like political colleagues. But maybe you're someone I can practice languages with. Like, I'm studying Chinese. I need people to study Chinese with or something. There's more than one possible outcome to this scenario, not just like either you're the person I seduce and have children with and get married to, or nothing, where it's not some kind of preset, limited number of outcomes. Where it's open in that sense also. You're open as to what this might lead to. You're not prejudging it. But, you really avoid breaking people's hearts. You avoid breaking your own heart too, I'd say. You don't want to charm someone or manipulate someone into liking you, into loving you, or into sleeping with you, and then they wake up the next morning and regret it. And in a sense, you don't want to talk yourself into it, where then the next day, you might be the one who wakes up and regrets it.
Part of the game. I wouldn't even consider this behavior inappropriate, and he certainly didn't do anything illegal. He just kept asking if he could kiss you. Nothing illegal about that, and I wouldn't even say that's bad behavior.
So Vegan Gains here takes the next step into absurdity. The first part of his argument is... The first part of his argument is that if a woman refuses, a man should disregard that refusal and be more assertive because he should regard this as, quote unquote, all part of the game. Completely disagree with it. He is suggesting that a man should work with the assumption that a refusal from the woman is insincere, that she's playing coy, that she's playing hard to get, and that the man's role is to be more assertive. I completely disagree with that. And then he takes the next step into absurdity by claiming that there's nothing inappropriate about this, that it's not even inappropriate. This is a workplace situation. Is an older dude, I think he's about 30, with an 18-year-old female, and they're co-workers, they're colleagues, right? They're soliciting donations to do this vegan activism stuff. And yeah, they're living in close quarters, they're sharing hotel rooms, they're traveling around, going to these vegan activist events and so on, right? Yeah, that's part of it too. But that makes it even worse. So this is a coworker and a colleague you got to live in close quarters with. What's the best case scenario here? What's the best case outcome for this guy? So if she shuts him down and then you have awkwardness and hurt feelings for that reason, that's one path. If she does grudgingly sleep with him, if he manages to seduce her, then what happens in the weeks and months after that? There's awkwardness and tension and inappropriateness and hurt feelings. And Richard is a guy who really just does not have a lot of real life experience with these things. But look, age gap relationships are difficult and delicate. Age gap relationships in the workplace between coworkers. Richard, you're giving terrible advice here. When you say that he did nothing illegal, you may be correct. But when you say that he did nothing inappropriate, you are dead wrong.